And here's a question from BDGRDS. Lee, what do you think caused the quality of physiques in today's era to go downhill? There were amateur shows in the 90s with better quality lineups than today's Olympia. What happened?
I don't know, and everyone asks this, whether it's the training, the drugs, it's hard to pick, because even when you look back at those days too, at the nationals back then, even some of the pros, most guys were pros in their early 20s and retired by 32, early 30s. Now, guys aren't turning pro till they're in their 30s, and then they're pumping a whole lot of shit in there to get big really quick. So it's hard to say, because, well, I can say social media, being on phones, and why people don't look as good. People are trying, I think the people really are trying to get too scientific, like I've said before, when it comes to training, drugs, rather than just stick to the basics. Train a bit more, because people are trying to train less now, whereas people might have trained twice a day or hit the body part twice a week. Everyone's like, oh no, any more than 45 minutes you're overtraining. So it's like, if you're a pro bodybuilder, let's just say you trained in the morning. I got a contract and I got money.
Yeah.
I train in the morning at 5 o'clock, 45 minutes. By 6 a.m. I'm done. So for the rest of the day, what do? Sit around and eat, watch TV, because some have the mentality, I can't do too much, I might burn muscle, so I've got to sit around, go on the internet, go on Instagram, Facebook. So I think people are just getting lazier. And even though, like you said, whether it be bulk weight or muscle weight, if you're sitting around doing nothing for 8 hours a day or more, you just get up to go to the fridge and get food, you're not really cardio fit, are you, as much as you think you are. So I think a bit of laziness there too, and just a strain on the body. And I was thinking too, maybe, who knows, with all these peptides and all these new SARS, there's really been no studies done on them, what they can do to the body. So yes, people go, well, they're a bit healthier, but you know, you can overdose on normal vitamins and get sick. So who knows whether any of these peptides and shit, whether they're mixing in with the steroids and stuff like that. So it's hard to say what it really is, because there's so many combinations of why bodybuilders look different now to back then. Because you had big bodybuilders back then as well, like Dillette, Nasser, Pierre Fuchs, Marcus Rule, and yet they did look healthy, but they all still looked like they had better symmetry too. They weren't as blocky as some now, and they had like a more dense 3D look. So I don't think we'll ever know. It's just one of those things where, to me, the judges could fix it, because if they don't like a certain look, don't reward that look. As long as you keep rewarding that look, people will be like, well, that's how I have to look to win shows. If you suddenly put those guys that look like that down lower, and the guys who look symmetrical, look more healthy and that, put them in top places, the other guys will be like, well, fuck, I better change what I'm doing. But as long as you keep putting the big looking ugly ones where you want to put them, people will be like, that's what they're going to chase, to be number one.
And have you got any names? Because I can't remember off the top of my head, but I remember seeing like threads on
Get Big?
No, the bodybuilders that never got turned pro, like in that era, and you see these like amateur ones, and
well, there's a plenty back there. Remember, I just mentioned him, and like Edgar Fletcher was one, never turned pro, but he could probably win pro shows today. There was like tons of them when you think back to those. I can't remember offhand now, but there were so many. You think, how the hell can't he be a pro and stuff? Well, even like you said, even the national lineup some year, when you'd have like Flex and Chris Cormier and Kevin and all those in the shows, the USA's, it was almost like a top pro lineup. And like you said, the depth of the field back then too was a lot more. Whereas some of the pro shows back then, the whole top 10, number 10 could have won almost. Whereas now, some of the pro shows, after the first three, sometimes you're like, okay, the other guys are good, but they're not like whatever. You picked the 97 Olympia where you had Dorian, Nasser, Cormier, Flex, myself, Dillette, Sean Ray. Like I said, you had like the depth of the field that you have there is just so great that nearly all the pro shows were like that. Now it's like you can see some pro shows where you go, the big names, yet it could be two big names, you're like, okay, him and him, that's first and second, anyone else is like, So I don't know what's, I think back then guys competed more, which was always something different. So, the more you do something, the better you get. So even like you see in boxing now, I was watching some of the times when Tyson was fighting, you had like sometimes 10 or more fights a year. Now one heavyweight guy might fight once or twice a year, and they're not as good. Same with bodybuilding, if they competed more along the year, you get more good at it. Whether you're pushing more drugs that would affect you. But back then it never affected people. We competed at least 3 or 4 shows minimum. Now some guys, once they qualify for Olympia, they do that 1 show a year and that's it. So the whole year they're just eating, sitting around, training hard, doing whatever.
And I think too it was like, so say Ronnie and then Jay, like they're massive.
Mm-hmm.
So then all the other bodybuilders try and get massive, but then not all bodybuilders can be massive. So then they look like they don't
just
look
they just add too much size. Yeah, they go too far, then they lose their shape, their symmetry. They become blocky, or they might say, let's just say someone's 215, but he's like, oh fuck, Ronnie's bigger, I got to get bigger.
Yeah.
He pushes it to 240, but really, arms, legs didn't get much bigger. It only got bigger in the midsection, so he added extra weight, but it didn't make him look any better. He looked better when he was the lighter weight. So, and
that's where the judges come into play. That they never, you're not going to win the big shows, but then the ones where those big guys aren't in, well, you should reward them for holding.
That's just what I said. It doesn't look like it's progressing at all. I know people still love it and that and follow the sport and stuff, but I don't know whether it's just like I said, where we just see so much now on social media. Before it used to be the magazines, you'd get excited and when a contest come out, but now there's so much content. It's just like how many podcasts from bodybuilders, how many people posting stuff all the time. It's like, Lee, why don't you post up your training? I'm like, why? You can go to YouTube and see me squatting. My squatting hasn't changed from day one to now. It's like, why would I want to post a squatting video every week when I'm doing the same shit? The only thing that changes would be my t-shirt or my fucking shorts. It's like, that's just, I don't know, I just don't get it.
And also I think too that that to compete at that level, like it's it's a big commitment for your health, money, and the reward is so small, and then you do see these guys dying, and it's like, well, I want to be healthy and
you can understand that more if they were getting paid like NFL players. It's like,
if
a bodybuilder was getting paid from the organisation like the teams pay footballers or any other sport, if you were like, okay, shit, if I do well in bodybuilding for 5, 6, 7 years and make 10, 20 million or 50 million like some of these other sports, I could retire healthy. But some of these guys are just barely making it. They've got to keep going just to keep the money coming in or keep the contracts coming in, because if they stop, they've got nothing to fall back on. There's no big sponsorships from Nike or Pepsi or anything like that. Look at some of those sponsorships that people get, like Tiger Woods. They're getting 30 million a year just for a sponsorship. Now, if you're in the bodybuilding, you can love it. You could do it for a few years and go, okay, well, my health isn't feeling that good now. I can stop because I got all these millions in the bank. I got investments. I got homes. I could stop, but sadly, people are like, fuck, if I stop, I got nothing really. I just got to get another job and then my health shit. So yeah, it's just sad. And all those other sports too have team doctors. All the teams have doctors. Anyone in the tennis, they have doctors and people back there. Look, if someone gets injured, boom, they go back and there's a person working on them. They've got x-rays back there, even machines to take x-rays when they come off the field. A bodybuilder collapses and it's like, oh, I might have an ambulance backstage to hook you up take you off. So yeah, it's just sad the way, for what goes into bodybuilding and the lifestyle and the training year after year, even though we call it off-season, there is really no off-season, whereas some sports have an off-season and don't do anything. Whereas bodybuilding, even though it's your off-season, you're still fucking training hard. You're probably still pumping some drugs in the off-season. You're pumping all the food in, so you really don't get a downtime where you just do nothing. So.
And you think if you're an American, young American, and you've got these really great genetics that you can look at a weight and put on muscle, what are you going to choose? Like college football, now with mixed martial arts. So when you're actually on the way up, mixed martial arts probably bad.
Even if you're good enough to go into the fucking fake wrestling, WWE or something, it's like you become famous, get sponsorships, and you're all over the TV. Whereas bodybuilding, unless you win some of the big shows like the Olympia and the Arnold, all the other pro shows are like, unless you got to rely on maybe being marketable, having a good social media presence where you can promote yourself and make money that way. But apart from that,
But I guess
there's still really no money in bodybuilding. If you get into bodybuilding for money, well...
But look, my point was, say that like on the way up, like say a college, like in high school,
like getting paid money.
Yeah, like you're in this system where you get looked after and whatever.
Well, we're all independent contractors as bodybuilders, so we don't get nothing. That's why I said when I got suspended, I could understand it if the IFBB was, say, paying Lee, we pay you $100,000 a year to be with the IFBB. Okay, then if I go somewhere else, But if you go somewhere else, then okay, you get suspended because you're under contract with the IFBB. But when we're independent contractors, and I'm actually paying you money for my pro card a year to be a member, I'm paying you to be a member. What do? You just put on a contest with the opportunity for me to compete in it and make money. If I make money, thank you. If I don't, you haven't done anything for me, really, have you? So it's like, it's cost me money. So that's crazy.
Yeah, no, that's the issue. Like, I think that as the years progress, they're not getting the best. Well,
could you just pick myself? I've been competing since 13. Imagine me, like at 13. No one ever heard of a 13-year-old young kid winning bodybuilding shows or winning your national title at 17. Imagine if I was a tennis player at 13, winning tennis tournaments at 13, winning a national or like a Australian Open, winning the Open Australia at 17, and then imagine like I've been doing it 35. Imagine me in any other pro sport for 35 years. I'd be a fucking multi-millionaire, well fucking known. Like, okay, I'm known in bodybuilding fields, but any other sporting field. Imagine if I got into car racing, like Schumacher started off in go-karts at 13, and then got into Formula One and shit.
Probably not a good example.
He did that snow skiing. Yeah, but even like Jeff Gordon and those type of people, when they start them off young. In any other sport, if you had done what I did, you'd be set for life and be like one of the greatest ever. Look at some of the Australian cricket players that started young and got to the highest level in cricket and that. But bodybuilding, it's like you can be the best. You can be like Phil Heath, Dorian Yates, whatever. And to the average person, when you walk down the street, steroids,
yeah.
No fucking respect for all those 20, 30 years you've busted your ass, made sacrifices. Then you can have footy players like who drink, do drugs, abuse women, do whatever. Oh, he's a fucking national hero.
When you say bodybuilders busting their ass.
Yeah. the gay for pay. Hey, those ones that did gay for pay probably made more than the ones competing. So
no, well that's why Matt they offered his.
Matt sponsored a few bodybuilders.
No, he was he got offered his pro card with the IFBB, but turned it down.
I was going to say if it wasn't for Matt, there probably would have been a few bodybuilders sleeping on the streets.
No, he's making more money on the podiums.
On the OnlyFans.
Just
backstage shows as opposed to
dancing bear, grapefruits, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So
watermelons.
watermelons.
hands out his business card at the. Gets down to the Mardi Gras when it's on and hands out the business cards.
No, he just laughs. He goes, what's the top prize for Olympia? And
he made that in one weekend at the Mardi Gras.
No, the Arab sheiks fly in and get the
one night in mascot.
One night in mascot, did you say?
The
premium package.
Packages. The platinum package.
Yeah, you should get the price list from them.
Yeah, get the price list. Well, if you got to ask for the price list, you can't afford it.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm sure he'd make an exception for you.
we got the paupers package.
Yeah.
But what this is, it's like you have different fantasies. Yours is like being a bodybuilder. Okay, what we're going to do is you're going to be on the street homeless. I'm going to be like Richard Gere and come up behind you. I'm going to pull up in the limousine while you're homeless on the street and take you back to my nice hotel and give you a bubble bath. And it's sort of like the Pretty Woman package.
Yeah. Very
and then after I've ass raped and did whatever, I dump you back on the street.
Called the cops. Get his bum out of the room.
He's broken in. Tried to rape me. Fucking loser.
I fought him off.
Yeah, and if I can beat him a bit.
Yeah. To break his pelvis to stop him chasing me.
Tough fucking, get him out of here. As he's leaving, he's winking. Thanks for that. That was great. Best night ever. And I made $100. Now I go to hospital for a week to get my pelvis fixed and get free meals in hospital. Get the fucking green fucking whistle. High as a kite. Get morphine drip. Thanks.
Well, mate, your tips for young bodybuilder. Yeah, forget the college football career.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so 1998.
Yeah, that's it.
This is 2022.
All right.